Capital News tonight. Dr. Philippe Pango is sworn in as Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania. President Samia Suluhu Hassan reshuffles her cabinet of ministers. And in sports, Taifa Stars head coach wants more friendlies before the World Cup qualifies. Good evening, this is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Vanessa Victor. Let's start things off with the national news. Dr. Philippe Pango has been sworn into office as the Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania. Dr. Pango was sworn into office at State House in Chamwino, Dodoma, by the Chief Justice, Professor Ibrahim Juma, whereby he pledged to be patriotic to his country. The ceremony was attended by President Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of Zanzibar, Dr. Hussein Ali Mwinyi, as well as top government and political leaders.
Mimi Philippe Isidori Mpango naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania.
I, Philippe Isidori Mpango, swear that I will be faithful to the United Republic of Tanzania and serve with all my heart, and that I will preserve, protect and defend the Constitution of the United Republic of Tanzania according to the law laid down. May God help me.
Nataka niwaarifu kwamba nimefanya uteuzi wa wabunge watatu. Nimemteua ndugu Bashiru Alikakurwa balozi kuwa mbunge, lakini nimemteua balozi Liberata Mulamula kuwa mbunge.
I want to inform you that I have elected 3 MPs, Bashiru Alikakurwa, Liberata Mulamula, Mbaruk Nasor Mbaruk. This selection made me do some changes in the cabinet as follows. In the President's Office, Regional Administration and Local Government, Umi Mwalimu, and the Deputy First John Ndugange and David Silinde. Minister of State Public Service will be Mohamed Mchengelwa, and Deputy will remain Deogratis Njejebi and Mwita Chacha Waitara. Honorable George Mkuchika will remain in my office. I will give him a special duty. Minister of State for Union Affairs Suleiman Jafo and his Deputy Hamad Hassan Chande.
Mheshimiwa Rais, mimi sikuota wala sikutarajia kabisa kwamba mimi mtoto wa maskini kutoka kwetu Buhigwe kule.
Honorable President, I did not expect that a kid from a poor family from Buhingwa would get a chance to be a Vice President. Honorable President, thank you so much. I promise to be helpful but also patriotic to my country.
Sina maneno ya kukushukuru.
Mheshimiwa Mpango namfahamu vizuri. Ni mtu ambaye nimefanya naye kazi. Yeye akiwa waziri wa fedha na mimi nikiwa waziri wa ulinzi na jeshi la kujenga taifa.
I know Honorable Pango very much. I have worked with him as the Minister of Finance and I was the Minister of Defense. He is a hard worker. You deserve this position. In your new responsibility, you will be a chairman that deals with union matters. A lot of union matters issues were solved and only remain with a few.
Utakuwa mwenyekiti.
Waachie wafanye mambo makubwa makubwa na sisi tufanye mambo yote ambayo yameainishwa katika sheria.
Let's leave them to do the other huge work and for us to do all that has been stipulated in the law. One expert said if you leave the law by itself and program them, they would work well. We humans are the problem. I remember, Honorable President, when you came to launch the Law Week, you said the major problem in implementing the law is us human. The law doesn't have any problem, only if used otherwise.
President Samia Suluhu Hassan has also made changes to the Cabinet of Ministers, with a former Minister of Constitutional and Legal Affairs, Mwigulu Nchemba, taking the position of former Minister of Finance and Planning and current Vice President, Dr. Philippe Mpango, as well as appointing Hussein Katanga, who was Tanzania's ambassador to Japan, as Chief Secretary in place of Dr. Bashiru Ali, who has been appointed as Member of Parliament. Here's more.
Other changes that have been made to the cabinet include Minister of State in the President's Office, Regional Administration and Local Government, Umi Mwalimu, Minister of State for Union Affairs, Suleiman Jafo, Minister of State Public Service, Mohamed Mchengelwa, Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, Libelata Mulamula, Minister of Constitution and Legal Affairs, Palamagamba Gabudi, Minister of Industry and Trade, Kitila Mkumbo, Minister of Investment, Geoffrey Mwambe, Minister of Labour, George Mkuchika. There have also been changes amongst deputy ministers, with Abdallah Olenga appointed Deputy Minister of Livestock and Fisheries, Pauline Gekul as Deputy Minister of Information, Culture, Arts and Sports, Mwanaidi Ali Hamisi as Deputy Minister of Health, Community Development, Gender and the Elderly, Mbaruk as Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, Geoffrey Pinda as Deputy Minister, Constitution and Legal Affairs, Hamad Said Chande as Deputy Minister of States for Union Affairs, Masauni Hamad as Deputy Minister of Finance and Planning, and William Olitate as Minister of Investment.
Transporters and traders of maize stranded at the Namanga border between Kenya and Tanzania have complained of losses incurred of up to $200 per day. They have urged heads of the two countries to resolve the issue.
Tunaomba serikali ya Kenya ikaweze kukana.
We're calling on the government of Kenya to come up with a concrete decision that will solve the mystery. We do not think if it is right for the government of Kenya to instantly make a decision, such a drastic decision, of banning importation of maize. They could have given a time frame before the ban comes into active.
Ya inchi zote mbili kwamba hiki kinahitajika au kile kinahitajika.
They could have given a time frame before the ban becomes effective. Wapili, this has never happened before. Drivers have been there for almost 30 days without any positive feedback. It is indeed a great loss for them that can be counted in terms of dollars, which is equivalent to $2,000 every day. Whenever we ask what is going on, they say they are still in dialogues. They took samples whom their results are not back yet.
Management and staff of IPP, various organizations, family, relatives and friends have attended a requiem mass held at Muhimbili National Hospital's Catholic Church to bid farewell to ITV presenter Blandina Sembu, whose body was later transported to Kamnyonge area in Musoma, Mara region, where she will be laid to rest tomorrow.
Kifo cha mwenzetu ni cha kusababisha, inaumiza, inauma, lakini maandiko matakatifu yanasema yeye ataganga roho zilizopondeka tuweke mikononi mwa Mungu. Maana ukisoma Injili ya Yohana sura ya 14 aya kwanza, maneno matakatifu yanasema msifadhaike mioyoni mwenu, mnamwamini Mungu, niamini na mimi. Ni maneno ya Kristo. Mnamwamini Mungu, niaminini na mimi.
Kwa niaba ya uongozi wa IPP na wafanyakazi wote wa IPP, naomba nitoe salamu za pole sana kwa Joynes, Monica na mtoto wako Monica kutokana na huu msiba wa kusikitisha sana uliotokea wa Blandina. Blandina alikuwa ni mfanyakazi wa ITV. Amefanya kazi kama mtangazaji wa kipindi cha jarida la wanawake kwa miaka 14. Na kwa kweli kifo chake cha kikatili kilitushtua sana na kutuhuzunisha. Lakini tunaamini kwamba kwa kuwa jeshi letu la polisi limeshachukulia swala hili na linalifanyia kazi, tunaamini kabisa kwamba waliohusika wote watafikishwa mbele ya sheria ili haki itendeke, familia ikapate kuwa na amani ya nini hasa kilitokea. Tunaomba Monica pamoja na Joynes, Mungu atawaongoze katika safari yenu, na nataka niwahakikishie tena kama tulikuwa tumeongea ofisini, tuko pamoja.
Kwa karibu sana, ametoa michango yake mikubwa sana kwa jamii ya watu wenye ulemavu na wengi wamefaidika na mchango wake. Kwa kweli kifo chake kimetusikitisha sana, lakini kwa sababu kifo ni lazima, hakuna atakayebaki ulimwenguni. Hii ni safari ya kila mmoja.
Mama aliyelala na ameumaliza mwendo, imani ameilinda, akapumzike salama. Amevipiga vita vyote vilivyo vizuri na amewainua watu kadri ya upendo wake aliokuwa nao.
Marehemu alikuwa ni mcheshi, alipenda watu, alikuwa ni jasiri na pia alikuwa ni mwenye kumpa watu matumaini sana. Marehemu amefariki tarehe 28 mwezi wa 3 usiku. Marehemu ameacha binti wa pekee, mimi. Amemwacha dada yake.
And the High Court's Corruption and Economic Crimes Division has sentenced to life imprisonment businessman Abdu Nsembo and his wife Shamim Mwasha after being found guilty of drug trafficking. The court has also directed that all their property be nationalized, including their Land Rover Discovery 4, with drugs found in their possession destroyed. The sentence was handed down by Judge Elinaza Levanda after listening to both sides and finding the defendants guilty on 2 counts of drug trafficking. The government has explained to Parliament reasons that led to suspension of national service training for youth, saying the move was taken to assess the training provided and to prepare strategies so as to have best training curriculums that will enable youth become self-sufficient.
JKT ilisitisha mafunzo ya vijana kujitolea kwa mwaka wa fedha 2020-2021 kutokana na sababu zifuatazo.
JKT suspended youth volunteer training from 2020-2021 financial year due to the following reasons: to evaluate the training conducted and develop a better curriculum for the youth training that will help youth become more self-reliant when they complete their trainings rather than relying on employment. But also, JKT together with the ministry have to communicate with other institutions like the Ministry for Education and NECTAR to prepare on increasing the term of training for the youth to be conducted for a year instead of 3 months and to take a great number of Form 6 students.
Tunajua moja ya mafunzo ya vijana wa JKT wanayopewa.
We know one of the trainings given to the youth of JKT includes the use of weapons and various military tactics and the defense of our country. I believe the government knows how much of the reserve army they need. Why should certain types of weapons trainings not to be given only to those you know will be employed in our defense and security agencies?
The number of deaths caused by a Macham Investment Company bus accident at Kiongozi Village, Babati District, Manyara region has risen from 6 to 8, with 4 out of the 53 accident victims receiving treatment at Babati Town Council Hospital, transferred to Benjamin Mkapa Referral Hospital in Dodoma region, KCMC in Kilimanjaro region, and Selian Hospital in Arusha region.
It is true, yesterday we received 53 injured people from the accident and 8 dead bodies, 5 of which are women and 3 men. All the injured were treated and those in critical condition were sent to the referral hospital. The dead bodies were discovered by their relatives. The first one was Selemani Lema, who was the driver, Zakaria, who was the conductor, Ariana Richard, Quiniona Molel Muita, Monvita Jumanne Petrolina Joseph, Leodgard Evans, and Grolia Sango. They should drive responsible because they are carrying the lives of many people. If he was tired, he could have asked for some help, but it has already happened and there is nothing to do.
And that's all for the national news. International news is next. In international news, A few days after President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya announced new restrictions to control further spread of the coronavirus, which included closing down of recreational areas, hundreds of business people have held a protest against the restrictions in Nairobi city. The protests come as the Ministry of Kenya announces 1,412 new coronavirus cases in the last 24 hours.
People from the hospitality sector are deeply hurt. Waiters, bouncers, drivers, DJs, musicians and suppliers. You said we have to go down on lockdown. We obeyed. What we want is solutions and not another lockdown. How are we going to pay rent and meet our needs?
Can someone wash dishes from home?
Can someone wash dishes from home? Can you be a DJ at home and be a bouncer at home?
What are we supposed to do, honestly?
And to Germany now, which is currently tightly gripped by the third wave of the pandemic. Case numbers there are rising steadily as the country fails to get new, more aggressive variants under control. Debate over how to handle the situation may now lead to a political showdown in the country. For more on this, let's bring in DW correspondent Nicole Fröhlich, who joins us from Berlin. So, Nicole, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has threatened to centralize the country's COVID response, overriding state leaders on the matter of disease control. Why is that?
Well, the situation here is quite extraordinary at the moment, actually, with Germany being a federal republic. Implementing disease control measures is largely up to state leaders. They agreed with the central government that a relaxation of restrictions would be allowed only as long as the case number in each region stayed below a certain threshold. In case of surpassing it, it was agreed that the region in question would automatically go back into lockdown. Now, with cases on the rise again, this critical point has been crossed in a number of states, but not all state premiers are following the agreed plan. And that has angered Chancellor Angela Merkel, who is pushing for a more radical approach to fighting this very aggressive third wave. So much so that she recently announced she's not going to sit idly by while pandemic control isn't taken seriously everywhere in the country. Now, currently, she doesn't have the power to overrule state leaders on this matter, but she did hint at amending Germany's pandemic law in order to regain control. This would, of course, amount to a significant power grab, very unlike her, and would certainly also cause a lot of controversy, but she's not standing for re-election later this year, so she might just do whatever it takes to bring everybody in line.
Discontent is further fueled by the slow rollout of vaccines, not only in Germany, but around the entire EU. What is being done to speed up inoculations?
You're exactly right. Frustration in the EU is growing each day. Now, efforts in Germany have taken another blow, with the country's vaccination agency deciding that the AstraZeneca jab not be provided to people under the age of 60 after mounting evidence of blood clots, especially in younger women. In the 4 months since the EU's inoculation drive began, less than 13% of the population has received a first shot. Leading the way here is Hungary, and there is a very simple reason for that. They are using Russian and Chinese serums that have not yet been recommended by the European Medicines Agency. So quantitatively, they are ahead, but it remains to be seen at what cost, really, since the data on the safety and efficacy of the vaccines they are using on their population has not been independently verified. A jab that has been approved in the EU is the one developed by the US pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson. Brussels has so far ordered 200 million doses of that single-shot vaccine, the first of which will reportedly arrive on April 19th. So here the European Union, with its 450 million citizens, really hopes to give its vaccination drive a significant boost. But officials are also in talks with other players of the pharmaceutical industry to see where production infrastructure can be improved and the rollout sped up by, for example, relaxing storage conditions or greenlighting new manufacturing sites in the bloc. In any case, vaccine export bans, because we have to bear in mind that millions of doses are produced in the EU and sold and administered abroad, are still an option that is very much on the table. But this kind of vaccine nationalism could have very serious consequences, and the EU isn't going to haphazardly jeopardize international alliances over this.
And now the EU is in the middle of the Easter holidays, and despite the grim situation, many Germans do not want the pandemic to stop them from traveling. What measures are being taken to avoid their vacations turning into an EU-wide super spreader event?
Non-essential travel is still very much discouraged around the EU, and entry from non-Schengen nations is actually banned in most countries. But within the EU, the situation is somewhat bizarre, to be honest. Germans, for example, can't vacation in Germany because lodging for holiday purposes isn't allowed. They can, however, travel abroad to Spain, for example, where the situation is similarly outlandish. People can enter the country to vacation, but Spaniards themselves can cross from one region to the other for leisure purposes. So there is a bit of bewilderment about this, as you might imagine. Countries that are expecting considerable movements over the Easter holidays have largely imposed negative test requirements for entry. Some have had them in place for quite some time, like Spain. Germany triggered measures quite short notice, which sent some destinations like the Balearic Island of Mallorca scrambling to up testing capacities. Italy, another European tourism hotspot, will impose a mandatory 5-day quarantine for people arriving or returning and testing at the end. So there is no unified EU strategy, really. People are urged to use local contact tracing apps and to practice social distancing wherever they go. To make all of this easier in the summer, the main holiday season here in Europe, the EU is looking at launching a green pass in June, aimed at facilitating travel for those who have been vaccinated or already recovered from an infection. But this plan, too, is not without controversy. Critics say that this kind of passport would discriminate those who haven't been able yet or maybe don't want to get vaccinated.
Thank you very much, Nicole, for that update. And that special report marks the end of international news. We'll be back with business news after this break.
Watch Business Edition as we talk to business leaders and experts in sectors that are transforming Tanzania's economy.
We believe that the driver is the customer.
To change the mindset of traditional HR to the digitalization.
Make sure that everybody can get some access to financial services.
And once we understand the vision of our leaders, we then need to be behind them and help them in achieving that vision.
Business have involved mercantile operations, trade guilds, or shared agricultural production, infrastructure, construction, financial sectors, tourism, and mining. Business Edition on Friday at 8:15 p.m.
And now in business news. Out of more than 140,000 cotton and green gram farmers in Mwanza region, only 20,000 have bank accounts, a situation that has caused them to miss out on various financial services and opportunities.
The rest 80,000 people must come forward and open an account with NMB Bank. We are ready to serve you.
ya Fahari Kilimo ni akaunti ambayo tunafungua bila kianzio.
Fahari Kilimo account is an account that can be opened without any saving. Other accounts must have a saving that starts with 10,000 shillings.
Residents from Amani Makola village in Mbinga district, Ruvuma region, have started to benefit from mushroom farming, with many seeing improvement in their livelihoods.
Through selling mushrooms, I managed to take my children to school and handle other daily spending and cultivate other crops like maize and vegetables. I usually walk in forests collecting mushrooms from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. After that, I return home to clean the vegetables before taking them to the market.
Kiela district in Mbeya region has received 30,000 palm oil seedlings, which have been researched by Tanzania Research Institute TARI Kihinga Center in Kigoma region, with the aim of making the crop more productive.
Kwa wilaya ya Kiela, ardhi tulionayo sio kubwa sana kwa sababu eneo kubwa sana ni la maji.
In Kiela district, there is scarcity of land because many parts of the district are covered with water. We will try to cultivate palm because of its advantages of getting pure edible oil comparing to oil that we get from Malawi.
Kwa kuwepo kwa mbegu hizi kutoka kwa ndugu zetu hawa wa TARI Kihinga,
we have received seedlings from TARI. This will surely sensitize its farming since residents in Kiela district know the value of palm.
That's all for business news. Sports is next.
Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment and going away. Gay trying to go with him, and he's going to be dragged through to second place, but he's going to win it by 2 meters. Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment and going away. Gay trying to go with him, and he's going to be dragged through to second place, but he's going to win it by 2 meters. Joaquinho, he did lose and left.
And now in sports. The national team head coach Kim Poulsen is not certain when Taifa Stars camp will start, but insists he wants the team to have more friendlies before the World Cup qualifies.
The next what's coming up is the World Cup qualification. We still only know that it will be played in June sometime, but the picture is not out there. So we have to wait and see, and I think this is the uncertainty of not only the football, but everything in these days because of the pandemic around the world. So I think we are waiting for CAF, FIFA to say how will that move on forward. But for me as a new coach for the Taifa Stars, I hope that I would really love to have a long camp with the players.
New Yanga Sports Club goalkeeping coach Razak Siwa insists it will not be difficult for him to settle at the club, considering the fact that he has been an ardent follower. Here's more.
The former Bandari staff member opted to join the 27-time Tanzania Mainland League champions after his contract with the Football Kenya Federation Premier League charges ended. He has since explained why it will be easier for him to adapt, pointing out why the club has developed well in the recent past. Siwa has now promised to give his best for Team Wananchi, at the same time insisting the Jangwani street-based charges should focus on winning every match.
Tuesday's Africa Cup of Nations qualifier between Sierra Leone and Benin has been postponed after the visitors refused to accept the results of COVID-19 tests presented to them by the host. Here's the report.
At the National Stadium in Freetown for their final Group L game, the Benin team refused to leave their bus after being told within an hour before kickoff that 6 players, including star striker Steve Moni, would be prevented from playing after tests show they have tested positive for coronavirus. Benin, who claimed to have taken tests 72 hours earlier, which produced negative results for all of the squad, did not accept the results produced by Sierra Leone and duly refused to contest a match without a full complement of players. Footage shared by the defender shows local police and civilians surrounding the team bus, with sources close to the team telling Go that the authorities were seeking to remove the players who had tested positive from the bus.
Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola said Sergio Aguero is irreplaceable ahead of the striker's departure this summer.
City confirmed on Monday that Aguero will be leaving the club at the end of the season, ending a 10-year stay that saw the Argentine become the club's all-time top scorer. Though City will likely bring a new striker to help fill Aguero's void, Guardiola admitted that much of what the veteran striker offers won't be replaceable. The 32-year-old will leave City as a free agent in the summer after establishing himself as perhaps the club's greatest ever player. Aguero's most memorable moment came on the final day of the 2011-2012 Premier League season, as his injury-time winner against QPR sealed City's first English title since 1968.
And sports item and our news bulletin. My name is Vanessa Victor. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.